Hi, this is George Alger, and welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the history of agriculture in Ventura County. And our guest expert today is Craig Underwood, who is the owner of Underwood Family Farms and Underwood Ranches. Did I get that right, Craig?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. So welcome. Craig, give us a little bit of an overview of your role in the farms and in the history here.
Okay. I started farming with my father in 1968. We were much smaller then, but my family on both sides have farmed in Ventura County since 1867 in Camarillo and the Mahans and the Underwoods, and then in the late 1800s, early 1900s with the Duvals and the Kelsey in the Saticoy Ventura area. Today we farm about 3,500 acres to sometimes a little bit more between Bakersfield and Camarillo, and it's quite a diverse operation.
Good. Now you have not only seen changes over the years, just in terms, I'm sure, of farming, but in terms of the land, all right? So could you just speak to some of the most, I don't know, fundamental changes you've observed in the years you've been active?
Certainly the crops have changed. In the early days, we were farming mostly cannery tomatoes and contract crops for different canners. We grew some crops for fresh produce. My grandfather and my father have always been involved since the 30s in the lemon business, but the county's changed. In the early days, it was grazing and grain, and most of it was, the work was done with horses. I know one of my friends back in the old days said that it required 200 head of percherons to farm their land, so you can imagine how many acres of pasture that they required to feed those horses just to do the work.
So hold on, a percheron?
Percherons, which is a draft horse.
Ah, okay.
We actually have some draft horses that we use for some of the things that we do on our little farm up in Moore Park. But all the work was done back in those days with horses, and we have some family pictures back in the 30s of horses thrashing beans, because bean thrashing back in those days was done with a stationary bean thrasher, and they would load the beans, cut the beans first, and then haul them off of the hills or wherever they're being grown, and then haul them into the stationary thrasher, and it was all done with mules and horses. So it's transitioned from grain and grazing to lima beans and sugar beets. Certainly in the early 1900s when Oxnard first started, there was a sugar beet factory there. The Oxnard Plain was growing a lot of sugar beets for a number of years. And then when I started farming, Oxnard Frozen Foods was a big factor on the Oxnard Plain, and we grew a lot of Fort Hook lima beans, spinach, broccoli. That business closed many years ago as a lot of that production moved to Mexico. These days, you see a lot of strawberries grown around the county. Lemons and avocados are a very important crop. And in between, there were a lot of walnuts grown here, some apricots, but the economics over the years change, and as the economics change, the crops change. And certainly a big issue these days is water. Everybody's worried about water. And I think we've probably been overconfident about the water that we've had, because it's always seemed to be abundant. Ventura County has always been known for having great water, great climate, year-round production. It's been a wonderful place to farm. So we probably overused our water supplies, and now we're trying to figure out how we can produce sustainably without overdrafting our aquifers.
Okay. Let's look at this from another perspective, and that is of the fact that in this time, lots of people have moved to Ventura County. In fact, since you have been farming since the 60s, has the population, do you know, has it doubled, has it tripled, or more since then?
I don't know if I could tell you exactly. When I was going to high school, Camarillo High School, The population of Thousand Oaks was about 3,200.
Wow.
So that kind of gives you a little bit of a benchmark. In the early 70s, there was a huge development proposed in the Las Posas Valley by Kaiser Aetna, which was a real estate partnership put together to develop the 10,000 acres that they bought from Underwood Investment Company, which was the offshoot of the Bard, the original Thomas Bard. You know, Bardsdale was named for Thomas Bard when he first came here, and then the Underwood Investment Company was land that was owned by the Bard family, and so that was sold to this real estate partnership, and they planned to develop that to a new city called Amberton. There was going to be a freeway through the Las Posas Valley. It would have been a major change if the people in the area had not gone to the Board of Supervisors and said, we don't want this. So the farmers and the people, over about a year's period of time, really changed the land use thinking that had been prevalent in Ventura County. When I started farming with my dad, a lot of people told me, why are you bothering? You know, in another 10 years, it's all going to be developed just like Orange County. That didn't happen.
And that's the point I wanted to get to, because as just a non-farmer, but living in the area and observing all this open farmland, and yet also observing land that used to be agriculture having gone away,
Mm-hmm.
and still recognizing this land that's farmland is very, very valuable. So it must be protected, I'm guessing, because, or is that the case? Is it, I figured there's a zoning issue, like can farmers actually sell their land if they wanted to?
Well, you can always sell your land.
Yeah.
You know, there's no restriction on selling your land. There is a restriction on what you can do with it.
Right, okay.
So in the last election, the county passed the SOAR initiative, and that restricts how land can be developed within the SOAR boundaries until the year 2050. So that's pretty restrictive on how much building we're going to be able to do. It's going to keep a lot of open space. It may be a little too restrictive on the amount of houses that can be built, because I think everybody recognizes that the cost of housing in Ventura County is very high, and there's a little bit of a shortage. So we may need to look for some balance there. But I've always advocated saving farmland in Ventura County. You know, it's a valuable resource.
So would you say that the SOAR initiative you just mentioned was friendly to farmers?
I would say most farmers were not in favor of SOAR.
Oh, okay.
Because it is a more, you know, if you feel strongly about property rights, you're not going to be favoring the SOAR initiative.
Got it.
And even if you are bordering on a city, if you're within the SOAR boundary, you're probably not going to be able to do anything differently than with your land. And farmers these days are worried. You know, we have a shortage of water. We have high wages here that, you know, and we're competing with Mexico, and a lot of low prices. Something is going to have to change.
Okay, so now you've just opened up a brand new thought for me. So what I envisioned as Ventura County historically representing is an ideal farm area.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that's true?
I would say it's true.
Okay.
Yep.
But it is not now.
Borderline. It's
Okay.
still a wonderful place to farm, but the economics, again, are changing because of high labor. You know, our land costs in Ventura County are very high, even for farmland. At one point, it was approaching $100,000 an acre, and it was felt that could support berry production, strawberries and raspberries, maybe even blackberries. There's been some blueberry production here in the county, but a lot of the production has shifted to Mexico, Northern California. So the strawberry or the berry industry in general in Ventura County is shrinking.
Okay, so the berry industry is shrinking. Is agriculture in general shrinking in Ventura County?
You know, you're not seeing vacant land, so it's not shrinking, but we'll see what the annual crop report says when you look at gross revenues. Again, we're going through another transition. lemons and avocados have done very well the last few years. So I think you're going to see a lot more tree crops planted.
Okay. So help me frame this so I can understand this better in a historical perspective, because the picture you're painting right now sounds like around a threshold where it may not be a good environment for farmers. But has this been a threshold that has been approached many times, or is this the first time?
Not the first.
Okay.
You know, just in my farming career, I can remember several times that when we've gone through this. At one point, there was even a period where there might have been a year or two when a lot of land was not planted to anything.
Wow.
Because you know, the prices were so low. But it turned around, and you know, there's a solution to high prices. You know, because whenever prices get high, you get more production. That drives prices down, and the reverse happens the same way. It just takes a while to readjust. We tend to adjust to high prices quicker than we do to low prices.
Okay. Now, I got the perspective here of, okay, so costs of land are going up, cost of labor is going up, and the water is uncertain.
Uncertain.
Right? Now, relative to someone who is a farmer in, I don't know, Montana, Indiana, Kentucky, anywhere else, all right? I mean, farming, as I understand it, always has had challenges. Would you say the challenges that Ventura County farmers are facing now are such that it could have a, that there could be a lot of farmers going away, or it's just another challenge that has to be dealt with?
That one is a little harder to predict.
Okay.
You know, because when you're in the midst of change like that, it's hard to look ahead and feel confident about the future.
Okay.
So I don't think I can sit here and confidently say that, you know, I'm sure there'll always be farming here, but there'll have to be some adjustments. If there's not enough water, if labor's too high, the value of the land is going to have to fall. Rents will fall. Something has to give way. Otherwise, the land is not going to be farmed. And I'm confident it will be farmed.
Okay. Then would you conjecture that farming now in Ventura County is such that it is less ideal than in other places in the country where it's much cheaper and there's plenty of water, or because you can produce all year long, that the difference is such a big advantage here that it's still a better place to farm?
You know, this is still a great place to farm.
Okay.
I'm not sure I would be looking to any place else. We do farm a lot of land in Kern County now. Farming-wise, there's probably more options there. Land is less expensive, water's less expensive. We can grow a lot more different crops. Some crops we can produce higher yields there than we can here. And there are crops we can grow there that we can't grow here.
Okay. Craig, I have a lot of questions still, but we're running out of time here. I'm wondering if we could wrap this up with a website that viewers could go to for more information, and if you have a summating message you'd like to convey to the viewers.
Okay. The website is underwoodfamilyfarms.com. And, you know, I love farming. I love this county. It's a great life. Hope it continues. Really, or is it? That seemed fast.
Yeah, it goes by very quickly. Thank you very much, Craig.
Okay.
This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV. Until I meet again.